I'm just going to try help when we come across autistic people, because they can be sometimes difficult to manage, and it's through no fault of their own. It's just that they're built differently to you and I. Now, if I use the term neurotypical, it's just another way of saying normal. It's just I'm in the autism community and we tend to speak a little bit differently. I'll try not to waffle on, I'll try to stay on track, and I'll try not to swear. No promises. Apparently 3-minute mark is the good one for the first F-bomb. This photo here is of my two boys. One of those kids is autistic, the other one isn't. And as you can see from that photo, you'd have pretty much no way of picking it, would you? So this is to sort of to help us with that scenario. This is my disclaimer. I'm not an expert. I'm nothing even close to an expert on the topic. Just a dad who's got an autistic son, so I know a bit of stuff. So, autism is defined as a neurodevelopmental disorder characterised by impairments in communication, social interaction, restrictive, repetitive patterns of behaviour. So this is that where the kid just does the same thing just over and over and over. And the simple thing is you'll see a kid with autism does this forever lining stuff up. Why they do it, no one knows. It's just part of the and the big problem is these higher thinking parts of the brain up here, they don't seem to be working together. They don't seem to be connected. The theory is that the pathways aren't there, and that's why the messages are dropping out, or they're not getting there on any good time. The other way I've heard of thinking is there's too many pathways, and so therefore between those bigger thinking modes, there's too many messages, and it's just not getting through because it's getting all overwhelmed in there. So the easiest way I can think to explain it is just think of your computer and think you're at Buttram Station, because you know that the coverage there is just rubbish. So if you're sitting on the desktop and you've got your landline phone, you've got good communication, you can talk to people, you can open up a few apps, computer speed's good, everything's working. Then someone says, oh, can you jump off that? I need to do some stuff. Jump on your iPad, maybe use your mobile phone. Straight away you know you're in for a world of hurt. You know, you've only got one bar, you can only open minimal apps, things just won't open at all. If they do, they're slow as hell. That or they're not communication. And you go to call someone on the phone and it's forever dropping out. That's the autistic brain, as opposed to the one where you're getting all the good communication. So that's probably the best way I can explain it. The difference between, say, the way you and I, our brains work, and the brain of an autistic person. Okay, most symptoms they present about 1 or 2 years, sometimes a bit later. With girls, apparently it's the way girls seem to be able to hide the symptoms a lot better, and by hide I mean it just shows up a lot better. So a lot later. The politician Andrew Wallace, he's got a 15-year-old daughter. She's only just been diagnosed now with autism. So she's gone 15 years before someone's picked it up. So my boy was about 3.5 when we picked it up. There's no set time, date when you're going to go. That's when you find it. A lot of long-term issues is creating and keeping relationships, maintaining a job, and performing daily tasks. No two persons with autism are the same, but then no two people in this room are the same. So it's just the way things are. There's no two people in the world that are ever going to be the same, so why should that be the same in the autism community? Cause of autism is uncertain. No one's actually put a finger on it and said that's what it is. They have sort of identified the risk factors. An older parent, I was 45 when I had the first child. He's the autistic one. I was 47 when I had the second child. He's the non-autistic one. But we know there's parents out there, they've got like in their 50s where they've had kids, there's no autism, and there's parents in their 20s. They've got autistic kids, so there's no set sort of plan as to how this condition occurs. Now, if you've got autism, you tend to have something else. And this is the reason why we tend to get called It's not the autism that we'll probably get the call to. It's because they've got ADHD, ADD, which I think is supposed to be the same thing, ACD. This one here, it was in there. I have no idea what it is. And the other one is just when they have their meltdowns. You'll probably get called to that because either the carer, parent is overwhelmed themselves about what's going on, or the person who's looking after that person, they don't know that they're autistic, and so they don't know what's going on. They've got a lot of sensory processing disorders, and the way it was explained to me once was, if you just imagine you're in your, I'll just put it in the AMBO speak, imagine you're in your AMBO, you're going code 1, you've got the radio going, you've also got your code 1 driving music playing, you've got some inane chatter from your partner, something else in the background is beeping, sirens are going, there's the outside noise of the ambulance, and you can sit there and you can differentiate between what's important and what's not. You can focus on the radio for your updates and what have you, and all that sort of stuff. To the autistic person, they're all coming at that person at the same volume, at the same frequency, and it's very hard for them to work out what's the important thing I need to be listening to here. And to them, it could end up being the beep in the back of the ambulance, which we all know that's the last thing you need to be hearing. And the same applies with that's just their hearing. Just think sight, you know. There's the lights on the dash, there's the lights outside, there's the lights of the cars coming to, and they can't differentiate one to the other. So it's very hard for them to work out what's actually going on. Okay, and the most common ones that autistic people have is anxiety and depression. My boy hasn't been diagnosed as yet, but I reckon he's going to be a good candidate because he just gets so worked up at times for no particular reason. Okay, so these are the three main ones that they say that the autistic people have. Lack of communication, an understanding of verbal and non-verbal cues, social relationships and how they relate and interact with other people, and interest and behaviours, lack of imagination, poor abstract reasoning, limited play skills. My non-autistic kid, he's got the best imagination running around, and you can give him a cardboard box and he's having the best fun there is. But my autistic kid, you've got to really lay it on the table for him. And he loves computer games, and my theory is that the reason why is because the computer game, it does all the thinking for him. All he has to do is just work out what he has to do to get to the next level of the computer game. Alright, so the next part I've got is autism myths, because there's a hell of a lot of them out there. I had to cull this, because as you can see from that little bit, there wasn't much I could tell you what autism was, because I'm really there's not many people that can see. But I can tell you what a lot of the myths are. And the main one you get is the vaccines cause autism. Okay, there's a guy called Andrew Wakefield. He did this paper. He did it on a subject group that included somewhere between 28 kids, I think it was. It was at a Christmas party. He was paid by a rival pharmaceutical company to discredit the mumps, measles, rubella.
MMR,
yeah. So the theory was they were trying to promote one where it was just one injection, then another injection, then another injection, instead of that multi-one. So he came up with the theory that, well, if I say vaccines cause autism, and his main idea was to discredit that one, but it took on and people really bought into it. And the main reason is because during the vaccine schedule is roughly when the time autism gets picked up. And the other reason why it really took on is because most parents, it gave them an out. It's not my fault, it's those dirty vaccines. And Big Pharma, they got a lot to answer for here. They've screwed me out and they've screwed my kid over. And that's why people jumped on board. One or two minor celebrities, they jumped on board, added their 2 cents worth to it. And it really, you get on Facebook or any social media site, and it's just rampant with it, and people will argue something shocking about it. Okay, the other myth, the next one. It can be cured. Nah, sorry, it's one of those ones, if you got it for life. You can manage it best with education and therapy. My son is currently going through ABA, which is Applied Behavioural Analyst. That's very regimented. That was good for him for a little while, but as he got older, he's now moved on from that. We did occupational therapy, we've moved on from that. Speech therapy, we've moved on from that. And we've done a little bit of social interaction therapy, and we've moved on from that. There's no one size fits all for what you need. It all depends on what level of autism and how bad they are, as in are they verbal, non-verbal, where they fit in the. I've heard this at school and I nearly lost it because one of the teachers one of the parents told her kid not to play with my kid because she didn't want to catch his autism. Closest I've come to hitting a woman. And I won't go any further than that because I can see myself getting angry. Okay. People with autism are just odd and they'll grow out of it. No, it's a lifelong condition. I think we've pretty much covered that. This is another one. My dad sort of thought my boy was going to be this guy on the TV show. And that's just two people who have autism with exceptional characters, but you get that in life. There are exceptional people out there. That's such a rarity, but it makes for good TV or good movies. So that's another myth. People with autism can't understand the emotions of others. They can, but they find it very hard to because they don't really pick up the non-verbal cues. They're not really good at facial recognition. Like if you're sad, they just, oh, it's just Dad's got a funny face. And they don't, like tone in your voice and stuff like that, they don't really pick that up either. So, dare I say it, my yellow, he knows what's going on. Yeah. And the other one there, they say they're people with autism, I must have typed that wrong. They struggle with empathy, but the thing is we all struggle with empathy. It's probably one of the harder emotions to pick up, and because there's a lot of non-verbal cues when it comes to the empathy when you're looking at someone who requires it. I won't name either of the two paramedics, but I was working with one paramedic, and they said that this bloke, he doesn't have any empathy, he's probably got autism. And my reply was, well, he probably doesn't have any empathy because he's an arsehole, not because he's got autism. And if I actually told you who the person was, you'd agree. But I'm not going to...
Come on, I'm filming it for you, mate.
I'm sorry, no. There's no one in this room, and no one on the coast. Basically. They say that the myth is that autism has been on the increase for the last 40 years. Possibly, I can't give you a definitive, but my theory is that a lot of it has to do with our understanding and our methods of detection are better than what they were, say, 40 years ago. And it wasn't until, I think it was about 10 years ago, that they weren't allowed to diagnose a kid at the age of 8 with autism. The theory being they will grow out of it. So I think it's those rates have gone from, was it 1 in 1,500 in 75 to now nearly 1 in 70. It's because we're more attuned to it. We're actually better at picking up who has and who hasn't got this condition. Okay. People with autism don't want friends. This is actually when we really picked up that my son had the condition, because we're at a party and there's 30 kids there and they're having the time of their lives, and he was just standing in the middle of them all doing nothing with any of them. And it wasn't because he didn't want to have friends, it's because he did not know how to interact with them. He did not know, he could not make that leap to even something as easy as just going, hi, I'm Connor. Couldn't do it. It was too overwhelming for him. And it's just his at that point, his inability to communicate with other kids. And it was killing him because he wanted to be their friends, but he didn't know how to do it. And that's when we sort of picked it up. I think this is my last myth, that autism is caused by bad parenting. And this is a really old one. But it's just another one of those easy ones because it's like, can we put a label on it? No. What can we think of? Well, bad parents. You know, you're very kind, uncaring parents, so that's probably why you ended up with that autistic kid. Term they used was refrigerator mothers. I think that's just another one. What can we do? We've got no reason. We can't work it out. Blame the women. So, but it's not bad parenting because some of the best parents I've met are the ones with special needs kids. There are also some of the worst parents I've met as well in this job. When you go to houses and like you see there's two special needs kids and the dad's just more in tune with the fact that he needs to get a gutful of piss that night and where the hell he smokes. Alright, so moving on to next is what to look for if you're looking for, like if you think someone might have autism. So, and this is the common one or the one we think of most or the one we hear about the most, the poor eye contact. You know, it's like, you know, you'll say, oh, he can look at me, therefore he hasn't got autism. Well, that's not 100% true, but the chances are that most autistic kids will be doing these ones. And the main reason is because, like I said, those social cues, the non-verbal cues, they can't really pick them up and they don't really want to draw attention to the fact that they cannot pick those cues up. So they'll just take little shifty looks just to see if they can, you know, work out what's going on. And if it's all too hard, well, let's not look anyway. And that's why they do that. That's the main reason why they have such poor eye contact. Okay, the next one is this hand flapping or repeated gestures. It's called stimming. That's short for self-stimulation, and it's just repetitive movements or gestures that kids will do or people will do just to. They say it's like a reset. And my son's one is he does this. Just when he's a bit overwhelmed or he's a bit flustered. If I take him down the beach, you've got all the noise of the sound, the surf, the waves, whatever, and the wind. And he just does that just to get himself back on track. But we all sort of stim in our way. You know, you'll click a pen, you'll bite your fingernails, you'll do whatever it is just to sort of take, you know, just to help you out in that moment. Okay, the next one, and the first part of it gives it away, echolalia, repeating phrases or babble. So you'll go to a kid with autism and you'll say, how you going? And they'll go back to you, how you going? And the thinking is because they're struggling to pick up what you're saying or they're struggling to work out an answer. So they'll repeat it so they can give themselves a bit more time to process what the question was and process to try and work out an appropriate answer. And then sometimes they'll just repeat themselves a few times and then you'll get nothing. And then you'll ask them again and they'll repeat again. Because their brain's not quite caught up with what's going on. Because like I said before, those higher functioning parts there, it's gone in there and it's gone, no, I'm not quite worked out an answer yet. So that nothing comes out. So just repeating what you've said is just their way of just giving themselves a bit more time and maybe a bit of a way of getting an answer. And we all sort of do a little bit of that. I mean, how many times have you gone, right, you've got the card, you've got to go pay the servo attendant, oh, I need the odometer. And as you're walking up, 378, 246, just to make sure that you know, when you get there you go, gosh, what's the bloody, yeah. We've all done that at one point, I'm sure. The heightened sensory and sensitivity and sensory evasion. Their senses can be really on a nice edge at times, and it goes both ways. Sometimes they want to be touched or they don't want to be touched, or they'll enjoy touching something, like it says they're rubbing smooth surfaces or smelling everything. My son did go through a period there where he was licking things, which very off-putting when you don't know the person. and you're in the shops. And like I said, they may or may not like to be cuddled. One of the things that you get for, and it's not all autistic kids, is they get weighted blankets because they just like that extra bit of pressure to help them sleep. My son loves it when I give him a really big hard hug because that's what he enjoys. When we went to Bali earlier this year, we went and got himself a set of headphones that were Bluetooth, but they're also noise cancelling. Just because we go through, like, you know how noisy an airport is and the amount of sounds, just thought it would help him out. And it did, because we got a iPad, got a movie on it, and he was able to walk through the airport, no problems at all. They had to take him outside at school assemblies because there's just too much noise sometimes for him. And so they put on like the $5 Bunnings headset, earmuffs, great, can't hear a thing what's going on. So he does that, and then he's overwhelmed by the amount of sound that hits him. So, and this last bit about the bright and flashing light, that applies to us a little bit about the flashing light of the ambulance. That can sometimes be off-putting to someone with autism. Okay, the stereotype behaviour. That's where they get stuck doing certain habits, interests or behaviours, and like that's something I said about lining up objects or just doing the same thing over and over or saying the same phrase over and over. He got in the habit of, because it was on TV so often, was it My Kitchen Rules Champion, and he just run around all day saying that. And I mean, the first minute it was okay, but after that, very, very annoying. And also, after a while, they sometimes seem to lose their language skills or lose their social skills. So they've got to a point where they think they're interacting well, and then they pull back, and they lose that interaction ability. And this is the last one I put down. People with autism, they have meltdowns, and it's more than just a tantrum. Because when you have a tantrum, it's when you're being denied something you want or something you want to do. And normally when that's given to you or you're allowed to do it, the tantrum ceases. But when someone's having a meltdown, it's more than just that. You can, like if you think it's because you didn't give them a can of Coke or you didn't let them go to the playground, take them to the playground, give them a can of Coke, the meltdown's still there because their sensory is so overwhelmed that it's still firing off and they need time to calm down because they're just overly stimulated. You might see this sometimes in, say, shopping centres with kids. So just next time, just think, when you're thinking, oh, jeez, if you can't bloody get your kids to behave, you shouldn't have them. It might be this. So, and this is the one we're probably going to get called to more than anything. When one of these people have an absolute meltdown, and whoever it is cannot help them, control it, de-escalate it, whatever, they'll go, what do we do? We'll call the ambos. And luckily, with our safe training, mental health training and all that, we're actually pretty good at helping these people out. Actually helping somebody in a meltdown. Now, these are just 10 topics that I've picked. And some of you might be thinking to yourself, oh shit, I do that a bit. Or I know somebody does that a bit. Or you've got a child that does that a bit. Doesn't mean they're autistic because it's a spectrum. It's a very broad spectrum. So, okay. Now, this is the final part. And this is just where I got most of these response tips from. It was from a site in the US, and it was mainly for the American police. As we know, they tend to be a bit heavy-handed, a bit gung-ho, and I've had to modify one or two of the responses here. But like I said, with our training that we've already had with our self-training, mental health training and stuff like that, we're pretty good at actually what we do, as in looking after people who are in these scenarios, and recognising that when someone's not in the right place, what we need to do. So chances are, by the time you get to the scene, you're going to learn that the person is autistic from either the dispatched family member, school, or the person may or may not be able to tell you themselves. We've got a few schools here on the coast that specialise with autistic kids. You've got Caramundi and Nambour Special Schools. If you ever go to the daycare centre called AEIOU, one of the classrooms there is dedicated to autistic kids. I think Chevelin also has a class that's dedicated to autistic kids. And most schools, like my son's school, they'll have the kids throughout the grade, not just all congregated in one class, and they'll have a special class for them to go to as they need to. But if the teacher or someone's not there, they might not be able to tell you that that person is autistic. So that sometimes you'll get a heads up. Hopefully you do, but sometimes you won't. So this is what we might need to do. So make sure that you maintain a good safe distance between you and the patient, because they might want to suddenly invade your personal space. It's probably not going to be to attack you. It's just they want to be close, or they're not sure what's going on. Speak calmly and softly. Speak in short, direct sentences, because autistic people are very literal. They don't really think abstract, which is why you don't also use the slang expressions like "what's up your sleeve" or "are you pulling my leg?" Because if you say "what's up my sleeve," you're going to start doing that one. There's a video I saw, and it's of this dad, and he's trying to teach his autistic kid how to play t-ball. So he's got the stand, the ball, he's got the bat, he's doing the whole thing, bring him with his shoulder, come on, step into it, give it a big swing, and whatever you do, keep your eye on the ball. And then the kid goes like that, puts his eye on the ball, and the dad pisses himself off, and he gives his kid a hug because he realises what he's done there. Allow for delayed responses. Now apparently, I forget where I got told this, but your average kid needs about 4 seconds to process before they give you an answer. And so that's seems a long time. Okay? So you might just need 15. And of course, we're ambos, we want answers, we want to get it done, we want to get it sorted out quickly. So you just might need to just take a step back, just allow a bit more time. And if you're not quite getting the answer you need, just repeat or rephrase if you're experiencing getting the response. And as you can see, we pretty much do all that. It's not something new that. Consider the use of pictures, written phrases, commands. I've seen many an AMBO do this now. They've got the iPads. Use the iPads for the facial expressions when they can't get the message across. Pain, and they point to whichever face is the one that hurts the most. That sort of stuff. Use low gestures for attention. Avoid rapid pointing and that, because they're not picking up what's going on. Some might have a medical alert, brace your juries tag. I'll give you a bit of a heads up. I've got a tattoo on my arm of jigsaw pieces. That's very common within persons with autism. And this one here, this is pretty much straight out of our mental health stuff. And I think pretty much when we did the Geperidol training as well, to model calming body language and model the behaviour you want to get. Okay. Also, a person with autism may not react well to changes in routines or the presence of strangers. So if we turn up, we've probably taken them out of their classroom, put them in the back of an ambulance, and they're a bit wigged out to what's going on. And they're not really, the old, most respected profession ambos, they don't care about that. You've broken their routine, and they're very much into routine. Okay. We shouldn't interpret that their failure to response is a lack of cooperation and, come on, raise our voices to get our outcome. Okay. Seek information and assistance from anyone on scene that might be able to help you communicate or de-escalate the behaviour. If they're doing that stimming, let them do it. Unless it's going to physically harm them, let them do it. Because that's their way of resetting and their way of like getting themselves back together. And if they're holding some object, like say a little toy car, like I have with this bit of paper, and to you it might seem insignificant, but to them it might mean something. So let them hang on to it. It's no big deal. Okay. Evaluate for injury, because they might not be able to tell you what's going on, and they might not be able to show you. So that's basically what we do anyway, so there's nothing new there for me to tell you. Be aware that the patient may be having a seizure. That was more for the police than us. We're pretty good at picking whether a person is or isn't having a seizure. And be aware of a person's self-protective responses and sensitivity to unusual lights, sounds and touches. This one here also was for the more for the police. Turn off the lights and sirens, remove the crowds, and after that they also had removed the canine from the car. So anything that can provide extra stimulation, just turn it off. And most times we don't leave the sirens going anyway. If their behaviour escalates, just maintain a safe distance until it lessens. Remain alert to possibility of outbursts, impulsive acts. Always use your discretion. Once again, those three things there, we pretty much do that as it is. The last one, once again, this was more for the police, but this actually does sort of apply, because if you go to the watch house and that, or you're taking someone to the watch house, the last thing you want is an autistic person in the general prison population. It's a bad place for them. And also, each individual with autism is unique and may react differently. So consider contacting a professional who is familiar with autism. So if you've got contacts for their social worker, caseworker, OT, speech, if you can get hold of that, sometimes they might be good at giving you a hand of what's going on. Okay. Out of my two boys, the one on the right, that's my oldest boy Connor, he's the one who's got the autism. Liam, he's the younger one. I won't say he's normal because he's too crazy.
He's a little boy.
But yeah, those are my two boys. Any questions?
How does the youngest react in that?
To him, his brother's normal because he doesn't know any different. I expect maybe the next 3-4 years that's when it'll become a bit more apparent, because the younger boy is slowly overtaking the older boy, because he's able to do stuff and his brother can't because he's not quite in tune with what's going on. At the moment it's more a physical thing, but I'm sure deep down it's more of a mental, it'll become a more mental thing. In saying that, the younger boy forever grabbing his brother because his brother's a whiz on connecting the DVD, computer, that sort of thing. So, yes?
Suggest if you have to transport someone, the age of your son,
Yeah.
what would be the best things we could do in the back of the car? Comfortable or
If you can have someone with them, but then we don't normally transport kids without an adult anyway. So if you've got, say, a 15-year-old that they say they're autistic, and you're thinking, well, this might not go well, if you can get someone, but if you can't, you might just have to, and you might just like, okay, what's your favourite show? Get it up on your iPad, and hopefully that'll keep the situation calm.
Is there normally any depression associated with
Any what?
depression?
No more than anyone else. Sometimes people with autism get demonised because, and the case I'll bring up is that poor unfortunate girl that got raped and murdered, and someone went, oh, it's because he's autistic. Well, no, it's not because he's autistic. He's a bloke who raped and murdered a lady. He also has autism. He didn't rape and murder her because he's autistic. The bloke who shot up the movie theatre in America, he's a bloke who shot up a movie theatre who also happens to have Asperger's. He didn't do it because he has Asperger's. So,
Do you see any these kids with common medications, like some of them on sedatives, that sort of thing?
when they do have medications, it's not for the autism normally. I don't know of any kid actually who has medication for autism. It's mainly because they've got ADHD or something like that is the reason why they'll have, and Ritalin seems to be the common one. And that's just to slow down the process. Yeah, but ADHD seems to be very common with autistic people.
So just with when you said we're most likely to be called to the meltdown, the breakdown
Yep.
type scenario, and you said quite often it's about providing them a safe environment, the time to let them work through that process.
Yeah, just to de-escalate. Yep.
That being the case, and when you call to that, what would you think probably the ideal appropriate patient disposition? In other words, like taking these guys off to an emergency department and at night time probably.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah. If you like, what you're probably trying to say is de-escalate it there, and then if you can do that, there's no real need to transport. And if that's the case, if you can do that, yeah, that's great. But I've only experienced it once where I've had a parent who wanted me to de-escalate, and if I couldn't, to get it out of their house because they didn't want the problem. And that's the issue you're going to have when you get parents who just aren't good at looking after their own kids, and they're sort of, I don't know if they're in denial or they're just poorly trained or they just don't understand what's going on with their own kids, and they just think that they also think it's just a tantrum or whatever. So.
I really have a question. I just wanted to say thank you. I don't think I've ever understood that much about autism, and we see a surprising amount of people who express that they have autism. And yeah, I wouldn't have had any idea that you had a son with autism. So thanks for coming and sharing with us.
Well, I hope I don't walk around going, "Hi, I'm Dave."
We'll get you a t-shirt or a cap.
No, but it's nice for you to share your experience. This is personal.